Audacity, come
All right. So we are live on on the video.
bastard.
Hey everybody who's joining us and still there with us. Sorry we're running just a little bit late. We had some technical difficulties, but we are ready to go. So everybody, if you are ready to go with Audacity, what we'll do is we'll count down 3, 2, 1, and then we'll hit record and we'll go from there.
Yeah, hold on just a minute. Hold on just a minute. My
Okay.
Audacity went away.
No problem.
It's probably good that I don't have video because you wouldn't want to see the face I'm making right now. I'm not happy right now. I feel terrible. I've held the whole thing up. That's not, I just wish I knew somebody who could fix computers. I really do.
We have a great guest today, and he does computers. So and
I feel
It
so
could be a
bad for our
Pittsburgh thing
guest. I
too,
mean,
you know. But
I don't know there was some lag there for a moment, Jack. Sorry.
that's okay. I said it's the whole Pittsburgh Guns thing, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Are you on Comcast, Jack?
No, actually, I use a cable company called Blue Devil. They're out of Ohio, and the highest speed I can get, and I had to fight to get it, is 5 megs down and 2 megs up.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's horrible. So I have another company now pulling fiber to us, and they promised me to be done by August. Well, I got to call them because this is August. So they want to give me 60 by 20, which would help.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that would help. I'll be able to
Sounds like
stream.
Yeah, it sounds like Google Fiber was thinking about coming into Portland, and then they kind of they weren't really sure. I thought it was almost a set deal, but then CenturyLink now said they're going to be bringing fiber into Portland. The problem is CenturyLink's already CenturyLink already has fiber into Portland. So when I saw this tweet come over today from the Portland tech community, like CenturyLink announces fiber in Portland, and I'm like, it's been there. Like, how is this? There's a site.
And what happened when the internet was first actually starting to not be public, but after the AOL and CompuServe, I was running a bulletin board system, and I got a few guys together and got some investment money, and we opened up our own internet business. And I know what these companies are going through. I don't want somebody coming in saying, "Hey, there's free fiber to every house."
Right.
It's ad supported, but I mean, I couldn't take a hit in my business, so I would tell you whatever I could tell you to keep them out. Of course, we sold our business too because we did dial-up. Can you believe that? I mean,
Yeah.
Oh, I remember.
yeah, nothing like a screeching modem at 2 in the morning.
I had to keep mine on the DL. My dad wasn't very happy with me on dial-up, so being online. Tim, you still there? I think we may have lost him.
I could have probably picked him up, brought him to my house, and he could have broadcast from here. He's probably close enough to me. We probably could just drove by and picked him up.
Great. Oh, there goes Tim again.
Uh-oh.
Tim.
So who owns Podnuts?
Door-to-Door Geek, Steve McLaughlin.
Okay.
So he is the owner of Podnuts.
And then he recruits all you guys, all these different shows?
Well, Podnuts has been around for a while. If you've ever listened to Android App Addicts, you hear of Steve.
Cherubino.
Thank you, Cherubino. He owned Podnuts originally, and then everybody just kind of came in and started volunteering to help out and do certain things, and then Steve wanted to sell it. Door bought it from him.
Okay.
And now Door has it. And then we've just brought in, Geeksters wasn't part of the Podnuts network until about, was it almost a year ago, maybe less than a year ago. And so we brought Geeksters in, and then links for the rest of us. It was just all these shows that people just wanted to get together and do, and we kind of just came under the umbrella of Podnuts, and it's kind of
That's
how that does. What did he say? He says he's done. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and we'll start without him. And
So you can count down when you're ready.
all right. Okay. So we'll okay. Ready? Record in Oh,
You
I'm
didn't
sorry.
even-
Yes, I do.
Well, that would be a help for you to tell me.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, because you'll record your side. We'll when it's all said and done, we'll get it all processed, and then I'll give you like an FTP or something like that, and then.
Hold on. I'm glad I asked. Hold on a minute. Ta-da.
Yes, Mitch used to have a mixer that we would go through every now and then, but now we just record it single-sided. I guess is what it's called. I don't know.
Okay. I'm ready.
Okay, and so we can make sure. Do you want to test it if while we're talking, test it? Make sure you're just getting yours and not everybody else's.
All right. Yeah, I don't know how I will not get everybody else's. Yeah, how would that work?
Well,
I don't know what kind of mixer you have, but on mine, I had a button where I could turn it on or off, where it would pick up everything, or it would just only pick up me. But you got that Behringer. Which Behringer do you have? You know what model number that is? Or?
It's a 1622.
Yeah, you can do it, and that's a better one. Yeah, that's one of the better ones. But do you have I mean, you can just do it with a headset without. I mean, if you have a USB headset or something, or.
I'm trying to think here. How would you do that?
So I know my mixer up. I don't know yours.
well, we could always just. I can always just rip the audio out of the YouTube and just go with that, and then we don't have to worry about Audacity right now.
So Jack, is it definitely picking us when we talk?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
You know what? Though? I can. Wait a minute. Then I won't hear myself if I do that.
Because
if I go straight-
but you don't need to. You don't really need to hear yourself. I mean, if you know your settings,
Well, yeah, that's
you
true.
are all right. You.
It's just weird if you can't hear yourself.
Well, you see, maybe it's hard for me to get used to hearing. I'm not hearing myself right now because I'm not using the mixer. But
Yeah, I lost the other plug too. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead and talk.
Okay.
Like,
testing 1 2.
Yep. We're just
Test.
talking. So everybody who's listening and live, I see we have one viewer and people in the chat. That Tim just had some computer issues today, so he's not going to be able to make it and join us. And one of the last notes, he said that if anybody needs him, he'll be out back smashing something with something else. So he is.
Okay.
He's feeling a little frustrated right now. So. Tim, come back when I hope that you're doing well. At least maybe Tim can just join us in the chat. Watch us live. So Jack, if that's not going to work, well, I'll just pull the audio from YouTube.
Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1. I got it.
Testing.
Okay.
You're not getting us.
Nope.
You're getting.
Nope. Hold on. Hold on. Do it again. Wait.
Sure.
Testing. Check.
Go
check.
ahead.
Checkmate. Checkmate. Check.
Nothing. That'll work.
And you're
I just
getting
can't-
yourself though, right?
Yeah, I just can't hear me. I
That's
like
all right.
hearing me. My wife
Yeah.
told me I have that complex where I got to hear myself.
I don't. No, I don't hear myself either. I don't know if that's just me. Maybe that's why I talk too loud.
Well, you're not going through a mic. I mean, a mixer.
No.
Okay. All right, then we
Okay.
can count down.
Okay.
Okay. Whenever you're ready.
All right. We'll record in 3, 2, 1, and record. Testing 1 2.
Test 1 2. Test 1 2.
I guess I should have asked. And Jack, you're recording. Well, it doesn't matter. If you're recording in stereo, that's fine.
No, I recorded mono, so
Ah.
you're good.
Perfect. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Geeksters episode 127. We kind of lost a guy, but we gained somebody else. My name is Martin Obando. We're gonna. It's been a challenge getting us going here today, but we are here. We're glad that everybody's joining us. Thanks for everybody coming out and hanging with us, and just coming out of Geeksters. What is Geeksters, you say? It's a show where we talk about anything geekery. I got some links that we're going to talk about later on that's very geeky. We've got a guest with us today. Love bringing on guests. But before we get to him, let's go ahead and introduce the other co-host, Mitch. How's it going?
Everything is going great. Couldn't be better.
You look comfy, Mitch.
I'm very comfortable.
Very comfortable. For people who have been with us the last couple weeks, Mitch is on the couch, feet up. I think I see some drink. It may or not have an umbrella in it. I don't know. Looks good, Mitch. Well, the one with the rum in it.
I haven't drank since last September.
All right, you're supposed to play along.
You were there.
You're supposed to play along, Mitch.
Yeah,
Help me out. All right. It's diet soda, but it does have a fancy umbrella in it.
and it's not pink.
And it's not pink. It's a manly color. All right. And our guest tonight, you guys may have heard him. He's been talked about on the Mike Tech Show. He's got a great podcast out there called Tips from the Server Room. His name's Jack, and I always want to mess up his last name. So Jack, I'll let you say your last name.
All right. The last name is O'Corn. It's Jack O'Corn. Hey, thanks for inviting me on the show. Like I said, I'm very humbled to be here on such a great podcast, and for you guys to ask me to join you.
Well, thanks for coming out. I've heard about your podcast. Oh gosh, it was a while ago. It wasn't that long. You're one of the kind of the new podcasts in my podcatcher to listen to, and I was so blown away with just because it's tips from the server room. So you deal a lot with DNS and Active Directory and Windows Server updates, and you kind of deal with the stuff that I deal with on a day-to-day basis. But the show is like half an hour to 40 minutes long. It's explained very, very simply. Your voice is very easy to listen to, and so I was like, this is perfect. This is a great tech show to listen to. I mean, the Podnuts has a great server show, and we do explain stuff as well. But just the more the merrier. And I thought I gotta have Jack come on to Geeksters and just let us know what his days are like and what he does and how he does it so great.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, and that was the thing I started a while ago. We talked in the pre-show about my the photography shows, and that all started because I started watching YouTube, and a lot of the people on YouTube, if you've noticed, they want to teach you how to do something. They want to play loud music and type text on the screen. You can't teach that way. Audio is so important, and if you can put the video with it and have video and audio. The two just go hand in hand together, and the podcasting's great because, as I told you guys, I got limited bandwidth, so I can record a podcast, upload it, in 10 or 15 minutes, and the whole world can have it.
Yeah. So Jack, what is your? We know you do tips from the server room. You have a photography podcast, which is great. We talked earlier. I'm not much a photographer guy. I take a selfie every now and then, and generally it's usually with my daughter or with my son or we're at the baseball game. But as far as being, I can't really look at a flower and say, oh, I'm going to take a picture from this angle. So that's not me. But I do the server stuff, and so what is your day job? What do you do?
Well, the day job is a computer systems administrator for a school district. I've been there for 11 years. We talked earlier. Before that, I started in this whole business years ago when the internet was first started coming alive. I thought, the internet's going to be big, and people are going to want to have internet service in their house. And so I got a couple guys together, got some investment money, and we opened up an internet business in a spare bedroom. And it built from there. So I'm one of those guys, believe it or not, and a lot of people, and I know you are too, we talked about this, where a lot of people nowadays say, look, if you don't have a bachelor's degree, you don't know anything about computers. Because if you don't have that piece of paper, you must just be a fly-by-night rum-dum. And that's not true. There's so many people out there you listen to. You talk about Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. They dropped out of college. They said, wait, look, there's millions of dollars to be made in this industry. Let's go get it. If they would have waited to get a degree, they would have walked on, and they would have been maybe working at the, Starbucks, swinging coffees or something. So, I think when you have it, a lot of you guys, a lot of people listening to these podcasts, they just have it. They wake up one morning and they have it. So the idea behind Tips from the Server Room was to give those kind of people a little bit more information that I've gained over the past 27 years, and to bring them up to speed where we are very rapidly, without having to spend a ton of money to go to school.
Yeah, and that's just in your website. I'll put it in the notes, and it's definitely going to be in the notes for the show. It's tipsfromtheserverroom.com, correct?
That is correct.
All right, let me grab that. Well, it's a great. I've gone there, read, kind of some of the stuff you're doing, looked at some of the stuff you're doing. The other thing that caught my eye is that you work at a school district, you do this podcast for that, but you also teach.
Right. I do have my online courses too that are very, very successful. I'm glad you bring that up, and I really appreciate the plug on your show. And those courses are, I believe it's classroom.jackstechcorner.com. And it's Windows Server 2012 R2, Windows Server 2008 R2, and ESXi Server 5.1, I believe it is, or 5.5 anyway. But and they're very successful. The courses are a very rapid way to learn Windows Server from install to administration. I think that's very important. And again, those were created because I looked at a lot of local schools, even non-credit courses. They're charging you $1,500 to $2,000 to take a server course. And I thought, well, that's a little bit extravagant for somebody that just wants to get into this business, and like you did, you want to start your own company, you want to make some money and get going. You can't spend $2,000 and then start making money. If you spend a couple hundred, then I think you're further ahead.
Yeah. I have not had a chance to take any of your classes. The one thing that, if I remember correctly, is that it's not a you don't just sign up and say, okay, the class is going to start in September 5th. It's going to go from this long. It's this night. It's at your own pace. Excuse me. It's at your own pace, correct?
That is correct. Yep. And I have a lot of people email me and say, Jack, when does your class start? And I said, well, the moment you click on the PayPal link and you pay for the course, you start. I've had some people complete it in 2 weeks, and there's been some people in there now for almost 2 years, and they haven't completed it yet. So it's very much at your own pace whenever you need it, and you're always a member. So once you sign up, you don't finish and you're done, because you're going to have questions later and says, wait, how do I set the DNS server up? You can just go back and watch that video.
Right. I have two. You can't if you're on the audio or on the video. Behind me is a bookshelf, and in there. I have about 6 books for classes that I've taken, sat down and taken, and they were anything from Server 2003, 2008, DNS, and I am, every now and then I have to pull those open and reference them. The problem is that you can't. I had to sit through a class to do that, and my employer paid for me, which was very nice. But again, that was 3 days where I then, every day that when you're working full time, every day that you miss in training, it's great because you're learning and you're in training. But the problem is that everybody knows that as soon as you're done, work doesn't stop because you just went to school. You have to go back, and now you're spending, maybe off time, maybe working through some breaks, maybe, leaving your family behind because you're having to play catch up just from the work that you missed. So having something like this, where on your classes, where especially 2012 is out there. I have very little experience with 2012. The little experience I do have, I really liked. Being able to reference that rather than carrying around ginormous 3-inch, 3-inch books that weigh 5 pounds apiece. I just don't have the back like I used to when I was a little kid to be able to carry those around in my JanSport backpack wherever I go.
Yeah, you're exactly right too. I mean, that's the big thing is books, and now, I mean, we got the phones. There's a lot of applications on the phones. You can throw stuff on your phone and carry a ton of information around. But podcasts, and it's sad with podcasts because I started another show actually too. One was Tech Talk, and the other one is I have so many. My wife she asked me one day, how many domains can you buy? And I said, I could buy as many domains until our checking account runs dry. I can just keep buying those. So every time I come up with a thought, I buy the domain. So I started another one called thetechpodcast.com. I wanted to create these things to put it in mainstream to say, look, if you're a college student and you want to learn how to get a virus off your computer, this is how you do it. But the problem with podcasts, and you guys know, a lot of podcasters are people that listen to other people's podcasts. We're in the tech industry. How do we get these things out to the mainstream and maybe get on a TV channel? Or I thought, take something like Podnuts and take this whole network and put it up to Sirius or XM Radio and have a channel and have these things running all day so people can just click and find it and get all these in mainstream to help people out there. That's what we need to do one day.
Yeah, I mean, and some podcasters have done that. You know, you take Twit for example. Leo Laporte has been very successful at taking the technology point of view from, you know, from way back in the days for the Call for Help show, and now his weekend show, and bring it to the mainstream. But you have to know, and you have to make sure that you are tuned in on the weekends or whenever it plays locally in your area. It's weekends here, you know, to make sure you listen to it. So it's getting there, but it's not there yet.
Right. I've even contacted our local radio station. I said, look, and I pitched it. I said, I'll come in on a Saturday or Sunday. You give me a time spot. Give me a couple hours to sit. Take calls from the elderly. You know, my tablet is not booting correctly, whatever. And let me take phone calls. Let me answer these questions on the actual air, on a radio station. And I said, don't pay me anything. And when you find a way to make advertisement dollars, then start thinking about giving me a couple bucks for doing it. I just want to pay it forward, right? Just so we can help out other folks.
Wow, that's I haven't thought that big. I mean, don't get me wrong. People have told me I have the face for radio, but I haven't thought about going public yet.
Did you actually do that, Jack?
They've never contacted me back. I mean, how can you say, look, I'm going to come mow your grass for free. I'm going to do it for 3 weeks, and when you think that I really know how to trim your yard, then you pay me something. When you do that, I would take the offer.
Yeah.
No, it's
free. Nothing else. You're giving somebody the weekend, or at least a couple hours on a Saturday off.
Yeah, somebody can relax or something on a weekend, but you know they've never taken me up on it, and you know, and it's just Some days my wife actually wishes she tells me she would wish my brain would just stop functioning for a while, just you know, because I'm always pumping things out and doing different shows and I don't like that old way of thinking. People would say, like, you keep throwing enough stuff at the wall, something will stick and somebody will like what you're doing. If you look at the other day, I thought, well, I have a camcorder. I'm going to start a cooking show. So if you look at Jack's Cooking on YouTube, now there's 2 videos with me cooking food. So
wow. You weren't kidding when you said you get something and you just go with it, and that's
I just go with it. I think right now I have 14 domain names. So if anybody's looking to buy one, you know,
if it starts with Jack, you got it.
I probably have it. Yes.
Well,
yes.
I'm thinking Jack's Radio. You can start with just get an AM transmitter, right from your home. Your wife may or may not like the big antenna in your backyard, but you know, just freedom radio.
I'm also a ham operator. I've been that for years, and she won't let me. She said, "Yeah, no beams in the backyard, no antennas up on towers."
Oh, we're halfway there. You got the ham radio thing.
Yeah, we've had that conversation with my wife, and no, we don't want that mess up in the sky above the house.
Well, I understand. That's
yeah,
cool.
but the rest of it, I mean, I enjoy doing it, like I said, and I'm just blown away. You guys even asked me to be on. This is just, I watched a lot of your shows. It's a very professional show, and I appreciate you asking.
Well, thanks for coming on. Like I said, I've listened to a lot of your shows, and like the switches. I was just looking at the list again and going back through some of them because I listened to them and I mentally take down notes and stuff like that. But then I may not. I sometimes I forget to go back and re-listen to them. But the one on switches and layers, you know, layer 2 versus layer 3 switching. That's always kind of that everybody kind of knows about it, but they don't really understand it, and you know, because you get the high. And I've worked with these people who are the network administrators who don't deal with the public, you know, and you ask them something and they're like, well, that's a layer 2 switch and it does this and it does that. No, that's just a layer 3 switch. And they look at you funny and you're like, I don't even know what you're talking about. So
yeah. And most people in most situations, as I said, I think during that show, we want to have a flat network. We don't want VLANs. We don't want anything out there out of the ordinary. Plug it in and just pray that it works. But the truth is, when you start layering all this stuff up, I mean, you know, we're getting ready to put 14 new access points in at the school on top of our other 14. So now you have 28 wireless access points and all that network traffic, you know, joining in with all the other network traffic. Now you got to start thinking about VLANs. But
oh yeah,
I'm still playing that pray game. Plug it in and pray. Pray that it works.
Yeah, but your podcast is not. I mean, you have things like layer switching, and you talk about VLANs. So that's a little more enterprisey, if you will. I know enterprisey is not a word, but that is that kind of that layer. But then if you go through, you have things like wireless networking, network monitoring, migrating servers, domain trust, shadow copy. Shadow copy has kind of been over the last couple months. Shadow copy was kind of the big, kind of a keyword that you heard a lot because of the crypto locker virus.
Right.
Defragging and RAID. So you cover. You're not a show that people only listen to who are administrative levels, or they work in the enterprise level, where you have to worry about things with VLANs. You can take the same information that you hear from Jack and apply it to a flat network. Maybe your network just has a domain controller. Maybe it has a 24-port switch. Maybe everybody's on the same. You have one domain. You have a Class C network. You have a smaller domain, but you can take everything that he learns. Maybe you don't need VLANs. Maybe you don't need any of that kind of stuff. But DNS, defragging, shadow copying, load balancing, group policy management, Windows update services, all of this stuff that he talks about can be applied in such a wide range, and that's one of the things that I really like about your show, is that you kind of get a taste of everything, and that people who are in the higher enterprise level get a chance to listen to and go, oh, that's right, I forgot about that one, something we always take for granted. Or people who are just starting out in a business model or a domain, being able to support something like that, they go, oh, these are some new things that I have, to reach for. So you cover this huge wide range, and I really like that.
Yeah, it's one of those things I was talking to you earlier, was when the show opens up, my little promo or whatever, when it comes on, or the intro, I guess you would call it, because there's also a word, like you said a word earlier, you said, is that a word? Is outro a word? But I think today we actually created that, because you have an intro and an outro to a podcast. But in the intro, it talks about the accidental techie. So I said, look, if I talk about group policies, Active Directory, the stuff that you probably know about, you're in the business, you do that daily. But what about that lady that's sitting in the finance department? They say, hey, Sally, get over there and put some people on a server. She don't even know what a server is. So
right.
hopefully that will help her to address that issue. But you're going through that list, and I'm sitting here thinking, did I really talk about all that stuff? Where did I come up with these ideas? And it's like, and you podcast, but if you sit down to do a lesson, you have to sit down on Monday. You have to start thinking, what am I going to talk about on Tuesday that I haven't talked about? And I'll put this out there to your audience. I look for questions, folks. I want your questions. Send them in there and say, Jack, what is about my VLAN? What about my server? What kind of networking cable should I use? Should we be using fiber? That helps those kind of shows move along. We talked about Mike Smith earlier. That helps Mike move his shows along, because he gets a lot of questions.
Yeah, I think and Mitch can attest to this, and Tim and myself. There are times when we love to talk to you guys, and we enjoy coming on the show, and I know, and I can hear it in your voice too, Jack, that you enjoy talking and teaching, but as you said, there are times where we go, man, I don't have a clue what I'm going to talk about. So we love getting emails and voicemails, people just asking us questions, and every now and then, and I've got some. I was listening to other podcasts over the last couple weeks, and somebody had mentioned something, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna bring that up on Geeksters, because it's something that if it kind of sparks my interest, chances are it may have sparked somebody else's interest as well. And but we'll get to that in kind of I got some news stories that I maybe want to bring up later on, and we'll talk about those then. But if people, so it's tipsfromtheserverroom.com, and if people want to get a hold of you to leave you something, how would they do that?
You can either email to me at jackstechcorner@gmail.com, or we have a voicemail line set up. It's I hope it's on there, 724-701-0550. That's 724-701-0550. And I understand it's a Google Voice line. Maybe you guys know. I think there's a minute or so limitation. If you get cut off, just add it to it, and I'll splice them together with Audacity or something later on.
Okay, and we'll make sure that we get all that put in the notes. So if if you're driving in the car and you're listening to this, don't worry about it. Go back to the show notes, and it'll be in there as well.
Yeah, there's no sense. You can't text and drive, but you can surely email and drive. There's no law against that. You can type notes on your phone and drive. There's really no law against that. But just don't text and drive, all right?
That's right. Hey, Mitch, how are things going over there?
I'm very comfortable.
Very comfortable.
I'm learning. I do have a question, Jack. On your course now, do you like do you start from the very get-go? Like if someone knows zero about networking or enterprise networking, you start off from scratch on how to do that?
Yeah, on the course itself, the Windows Server courses start out with the actual install of, I teach you, basically putting the disk in. I do it from an ISO because you do it on a virtual machine, but it's
Right.
basically the same. You're doing the install, then you start with the static IP address, and we work up from there. And then we go, I call it from install to administration. So once you get in the course, at the end of the course, you can set up a server and be an administrator.
Okay. I might take you up on that.
Yeah.
But
that's
but
great.
I get it. But I get a ton of emails. The course does not get you ready for the Microsoft certification test. It's not built for that. Just as
Right.
long as people know. And I tell them, if you want it, use my course, and then get some supplemental materials on top of that to help you along.
Well, I remember when I took my Microsoft course, nothing really prepares you for that. Because it's like this with anything. I mean, I've taken the CCNA test and I've taken the Microsoft courses. There's the you study for the test and you go in and you take the test because they want you to know certain answers in certain ways, not the right way, not the most efficient way, not the way that makes things go and work better, but their way. And then when you get done, you go, okay, now I can forget all that and just go back to remember how it is. So I would say that your courses then sound like if you want to just be functional, not necessarily being able to know the Microsoft answer, because we all know that maybe the Microsoft answer is not the right answer, Windows 8, but we can go up from there.
And you got I looked at those courses because you talked earlier, Martin, about your company paying for you to take courses, and the school will pay for me to take different courses. And I looked for some of the certification courses online where you buy the DVDs, they mail them to you, and you start them. What happens, and this is what I tell everybody to ask, is what happens when it takes you 12 months to get through those, say maybe a year and a half to get through all those videos, and then they change the whole test or the whole layout of the test? Is that company going to send you new discs, or is that company saying, hey, thank you, we'll see you later? I don't know. I mean, I don't know how that works, but that was just something, because you talked about certification course. The only other problem, and you took some good ones from what you're saying, don't get me wrong, but I had one guy work for me, said, I have a Windows 98 cert. I'm like, yeah, good for you, thanks. Great thing you have a piece of paper. I mean, and I used it for scratch paper, wrote some networking drawings on the back of it, because what else good was it for, really?
Now, was it 98 or was it 98 SE? I just want to make sure he has USB support.
It might have been SE. I don't know. Wait, let me call him up. Hold on. I'm just kidding.
Well, I came across a couple of news articles, and one of them I came across was it's called, and it's from Canadian. Well, it's Canadian. It's a Canadian IT Pro Connection, and it says step by step Active Directory migration from Windows Server 2003 to Windows Server 2012 R2. And so I catch news stories every now and then, and I thought this one was a really good one because it does go step by step and walk you through what you need to do from going from a 2003 to a 2012. And if people are interested, it's going to be in the show notes. But I'm actually just going to deploy a 2008. We just purchased a 2008 R2 server last night for a company. Yeah, I know it's 2008. The reason we didn't go 2012 is because of just it's financials. The cows that come with 2008, as opposed to the a la carte way they've gone from 2012, it's actually cheaper to go with 2008. So I don't know. In the long run, I understand. I know you're going to get more use out of 2012, but
And how many more years is Microsoft supporting 2008? Does anybody know?
oh, we can find out.
2003 is getting ready to go
2003.
out, I guess.
Yeah, July of next year. 2003 is done. So
I thought I read that somewhere.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why we definitely wanted to move on to something else, but financially, the way Microsoft has done the a la carte now for 2012, sometimes doesn't make it financially responsible or financially available.
What if you learn? Let's say I have an opportunity to learn on 2003 right now. Is it going to be a lot different than 2008, 2012?
The interfaces of 2012 is a lot different than 2008 or 2003. 2008, there's a lot more stuff in it than 2003 had, I think. So, I mean, we're still running some 2003 right now in our virtual server rack at the school. And just this year, just to let you guys know, I mean, we just this summer got rid of all the XP out of the school district, which is pretty huge because a lot of people are still running XP.
Right.
So, but yeah, not to take away from your question, 2012 is different. But what you'll find is when you start right-clicking and you go into DNS management or something, the underlying Windows are the 2008 Windows. So.
Yeah, that's the one thing I did find out with 2012 is that once I finally figured out where everything was, it made it much simpler. I just had to find it because I hit it again, and you're like, oh, come on.
But that's kind of like if you guys ever go into a store. We do that a lot here in Pennsylvania. We'll go into a store and they do at midnight. They'll do excuse me. They'll do something called a reset, and that's when they take all the bread from the left and they move it to the middle aisles, and they take everything from the milk and they move it to the beer refrigerators. And the reason they do that is to get you to buy more. So I think Windows Server 2012, they're saying, look, if you're looking for DNS, you might just want to set up some DHCP stuff too, because you might hit that on your pathway to get there. Just a thought. I don't know. This is how my brain thinks.
Oh no, I think you're right. Actually, I think you're pretty much on the Microsoft making people buy stuff.
Or Steve Ballmer might have had a free beer night even. He might have said, "Look, free beer for all the programmers." And I'm like, "Great, let's program this like crazy stuff," you know.
I know some programmers, and they have said that after a couple beers, they program a lot better. So.
It probably does relax you just a little bit.
Yeah. One of the things that I wanted to talk about is that I if you had gone back and listened to some of our older shows, I made sure you remember the SkyDog. Remember the SkyDog router? And actually, Aaron Turnbull had brought this to my attention just, was it 2 days ago? SkyDog router was a router that had these interfaces it had kit interfaces, but you could assigned users in the router, and then you via MAC address you assigned it just popped up. So then you would link items like your phone. So I would create myself as a user on it. I would link my phone to it, and then I could set policies that said, okay, I can only have internet access between such and such time, or I could filter it between such and such time. Like it was actually pretty good. It was then they did a new kid content filtering a little bit better. So it was kind of a local content filtering, and I don't know. It worked out really well. I bought one of them. I used it for quite a while. I thought it was really well done. They're gone.
Really?
Unfortunately, if you go to SkyDog right now, it says SkyDog, the connected family's best friend, has found a new home. Dear SkyDog community, we're excited to announce that Power Cloud Systems, the company behind SkyDog, has been acquired. While SkyDog routers are no longer available for purchase, all existing customers will continue to enjoy the current SkyDog terms of service and features for the remainder of their subscription. We want to thank all the customers, especially our early backers on Kickstarter, and supporting our product. So really, they're done. It was a kickstarting product. I bought one. I've deployed one to a client. I know Aaron Turnbull has bought one. They're a pretty cool thing, and I was kind of really hoping that they would take off. They were venture capital. After the Kickstarter happened, the client that I deployed this to, he's in real estate, so he quickly called up his attorney and broker and said, "Hey, I want to get involved in this." And they said, "It's a venture capitalism right now. You can't buy into this." And I told him this today. I said, "Hey, Brad." He goes, "Yeah." I said, "SkyDog is done," and he paused for a moment because he's been using this and really likes it. But I wanted to bring that up. So if you do have a SkyDog router, it is still in use. You can still use it until the subscription expires, and then it's done. So I was
So does it just become a brick then?
It must, because it has its own special interface in it. It's not. Even so, it's behind there on the shelf. The router itself has a USB plug. It has a one-click like WPS button on it. Those are not even functional because they just took their hardware and stuck it in a already prefabbed case and then sold it. So we were kind of hoping that they were going to come up with external antennas because the antennas were not very strong. We were kind of hoping that they were going to build on this because I think they got a lot of traffic and they were onto something that nobody else was doing, and now they're gone. So I'm bummed to see them go because I think they could have been better. So now if they've been bought out by a company, maybe that company is going to use them. They're going to spin them back up again. They're going to do something better with it. I'd like to see that, but of course they can't. They can't tell you they're going to do that. they don't want to let the show all their cards. But hopefully in the future something like Skydog will come back and be back out there on the market.
Or hopefully, if a company bought them, they'll buy it with their people, so the plan can move on. You know, I mean, so many times a company will buy you out and get rid of all the initial developers, and they're left with, they try to take it over, and they don't have that same mindset.
Right.
So.
Yeah, this was just because both of us are in education. I am on a limited scale, but I have been for many years. We worry about content filtering. That's a huge thing. Whether you've worked in both private and public, it sounds like. I've worked in private. Now I'm in public. Or sorry, the other way around. I worked in private. Now I'm in public. I don't have the same rules. Like the Child Information Protection Act doesn't hold as much in the public one, or in the private as the public one. But I come with more knowledge than less. And so I'm always worrying about content filtering, and this was a great content filter for your in-home, and who knows, maybe they'll do something better with it.
I could probably get on a soapbox for 3 hours on this one with you, Martin, believe me, because we just did a BYOD last year. It's the big catchphrase, right? Bring your own device. So the kids should be able to bring their own device. So my wireless does not have a password on it, because I feel that if I take a child and I say, hey, jump through these 90 hoops, they're going to say, look, I got LTE, I got 3G, I don't need your wireless. We want them on our wireless, and the only thing we filter, and so many tech directors call me and said, Jack, you are totally out of your mind, you're a crazy nut, is we filter for pornography. That's it. The kids can get on Facebook, they can get on Twitter, they can get on YouTube videos, they can watch those all day, stream videos. I don't really care. Because if you start to squeeze what the kids can see, then you're taking something out of education. Isn't education about teaching the kid what they should be doing and the proper way to do it? That's not our job. That's the teacher's job to do that. So we just make sure, by law, you're right. We're obligated to filter porn the best that we possibly can, and we do that. But everything else is wide open, and people say, you are nuts. Wonder if somebody sends a Facebook message to somebody that says, I'm going to beat you up. I said, wonder if I walk in the hallway when I was a kid and said, I'm going to take you out in the playground and beat you up, right? Same thing. We're not, you can't sue the school for that. So yeah, you talked about content filtering, and I can go on for days about that one.
Well, there you go. I will email in, and I'm gonna have that for one of your shows.
There you go. That's a great idea.
So if you've listened to us, we've talked about Nick Shaw before, and Nick Shaw writes, what does he do? D2 or D7.2. He's got D uninstaller. He's got all the other stuff that he does. I can't even think of it. But because the one that we talked about last week was called Debug. And we talked about how awesome it is going to be, and I got a chance to use it this week. So Debug, most people have heard of Hitman Pro, where you can do the Kickstarter, so it makes the thumb drive, you boot it to the thumb drive, and it keeps processes from running, and then you can uninstall rogue applications, malware, and spyware. The thing that you run into with Hitman Pro, well, they're a business, I understand, is that you get it for free for 30 days, and it's locked down to the computer. After the 30 days is done, you need to buy it per the computer. Well, Nick wanted to come up with something that was along the same line, so he created a program called Debug, and was given a computer on Sunday that they said, I can't even get online with it, pop-ups, pop-ups. If you could take a look at this. Not a problem. So I put in Debug on it, because sure enough, I couldn't get online. It was so buggy. Ran Debug in the Windows interface. You just run it. It tells you need to reboot the computer. You reboot the computer. It comes back up. All those majority of those pop-ups stopped, which was great. And then you can go through your uninstall programs, and you can uninstall programs. Now I ran into a bug with this one, and I've already called Nick Shaw and let him know what happens with this. When there are some programs that have an uninstaller built into them, if you were to block, so malware123, okay, malware123 has an uninstaller. You run debug. Now malware123 doesn't run, but then you go to run the uninstaller within the folder with debug on. It says it's blocked by your system administrator. So it's not until you can clean out a majority of the stuff. So I was able to get like 92% of the stuff cleaned out. And then what I was able to do was then turn off debug. There's an undo button which basically re-releases everything back. then go in and now I can uninstall malware 123. But with debug on and the combination of de-uninstaller, which is Nick's application that runs, and you can go through and you can check everything you want to uninstall and basically say run, and you sit back and just kind of watch it uninstall programs for you. Between debug and de-uninstall, I was able to clean up a majority of this spyware. So I was able to take a hugely infected computer and basically run something like Hitman Pro from Nick Shaw and his product. Both of these products, debug and de-uninstall, completely free. I did let him know about that problem with the uninstaller, with this lockdown of system administrators, and I said, as soon as I mentioned it to him, he said, "Oh, yep, that would make sense why it didn't do that." You could see the wheels turning, and so I think I don't know if he's going to, but I think that something will come out. And I did ask him. I said, "Hey, for full disclosure, you can create debug as a WinPE so it can run off of a boot disk or a thumb drive." And I said, would that have made any difference? And he says, no, it wouldn't have made any difference just because of the way it was running. So we may see a patch in the future. Hey, Nick, I hope you're listening. For this program to be able to, come up with those things. So debug, first time I got a chance to use it, hands down, excellent and free.
And you have to run that in safe mode?
No, you can just download it. It's a small executable. You run it, and it pops up a window. So it's a zip folder. You unzip it. You get the executable, a debug undo.bat file, and then a debug PE file. So you just run the executable. It runs. It pops up saying, "Hey, when you're done, don't forget to run the undo file to restore your settings." Because it actually stops a lot of stuff. It doesn't just specifically stop all the malware. It actually kind of, as if you were to use, CCleaner or msconfig and go through and disable stuff, it kind of just does that for you. That way, when you reboot back in, it's now killed all those applications from running, and you can go in and do it. So foolishit.com is where you can find his stuff, and he's a longtime supporter of Podnuts, of the Geekster show. We've had him on a couple times, but foolishit.com is where you can find a lot of stuff from Nick Shaw, and I give thumbs up to debug. It's great. Works very, very well.
Great information.
Yeah, I am. I found it. I came across a couple things, and this is the one thing that I had earlier on. We were talking about learning stuff and getting educated, and talking about maybe every now and then we'll hear a Podnuts or a podcast show, and we'll talk about what's available, what's out there, and I heard a question that was in another conversation, and it was basically we all have spinning hard drives, or a majority of us have spinning hard drives, and if something dies, we can run SpinRite, or what's the other one that's out there to do hard drive maintenance?
Test disk? No.
Not test disk.
I know what you're talking about. I can't think of it.
I can't think of it either. But we have all these tools and applications that work great for recovering. Well, test disk is a great, and PhotoRec is a great one for recovering data off of a spinning drive and stuff. But we want things faster. We want things sooner. We want them now. So we start switching over to SSDs. And I have an SSD in my laptop. It's great. I love it. I think SSDs are great in laptops because you're moving and shaking them all the time. But what happens when data fails? Can you recover data from an SSD? And that's where while we want one, we may not be able to get both. And so I've been reading about this, and it sounds like it's hard to recover data from an SSD. It's not as easy as a spinning disk. There's no it sounds like there's a couple places you can take it into, but what this report here is from Make Use Of, and it's called Can Data Be Recovered from a Failed SSD? And it almost sounds like the overwhelming answer is pretty much not as much. And then it goes on to say that if you're using Trim, which is Trim keeps the data on your SSD organized so it can quickly access everything. that makes it even harder because data is always getting moved around. Whereas on a spinning disk, right, you write data, then you delete data and it leaves a hole, then more data gets written, and then kind of everything gets done, and that's why back early 90s when you were always running defrag because you were always trying to get everything closer to the center of the disk, the spinning disk, so things can be read and wrote faster on the hard drive. Well, now you have an SSD where it doesn't. That's all out the window, and you have trim which overwrites and moves data all the time. So you're constantly overwriting data that you may have already deleted, which is right when somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, I've lost data. Can you recover it?" What's the first thing we say? Turn off your computer. Like, just stop using it because you could be overwriting data that you want to save. Well, you don't have that option in an SSD. I've never been asked to recover data from an SSD yet. But what do you do then? So if somebody like me or my client who has a laptop and they want to be faster and I say, well, yeah, let's recommend an SSD, then we need to make sure that we are also recommending some type of backup for them. We can't just rely on the SSD to keep going because we know, SSDs are not like spinning drives. I've got some spinning disks behind me on this shelf over here that are 80 gig, 40 gig. So I've come across, I think I had a box one time that had a 10 gig SSD. The data is just there. It's written on the platters and it stays there. But there is a life expectancy for solid state drives. Everybody's had a thumb drive that had just stopped working one day. You're just like, I don't know why this isn't working anymore. I can't read to it. I can't write to it, and we toss it. We don't think anything about it because we think, it only cost me $6, $10, $20. Well, the same concept, yeah, the technology has gotten better. It's more efficient, but the same underlying principle that you have in your little, $10, $6. I mean, I have a 16 gig in here that was given to me at a conference. I mean, they give these away now. The same concept is on these same SSDs that we're throwing in our laptops that we're putting a lot of data on. When these die, we go, I'm out $3, we toss it. When your $250 SSD hard drive dies, you're not going to go, uh-oh, I'm not going to worry about it, I'm going to toss it. You're going to say, where's all my pictures? Where's my data? I need that stuff. We need to make sure that if we're really deploying SSDs, that we are deploying some type of backup program, whether it's Carbonite, CrashPlan, Own Cloud, something. We have to be deploying something there because SSDs fail. Install
the operating system on SSD, but keep another hard drive in there for data.
Yeah, that is a great that's a great example of a way to do that because your boot will get the boot, but you'll also have the space for the. So you're going to get the efficiency of the SSD without having the read and writes of wearing down the SSD, because that's what causes them to go bad, is that you're pushing electrons through membranes, and they can only do that for so long. It's kind of like, everybody probably has their favorite VCR. Everybody has that one tape that they've watched over and over again. For my wife, it was still Magnolias. No, my wife. It wasn't me. It was my wife. At some point, it died. We've all, the VCR. You can only overwrite tapes so much. Now, I'm only comparing the process of failing. I'm not comparing that SSDs are like a VCR tape. If there was, then we would remember to, I'd have a sticker on my laptop that said "Be kind, rewind."
See, sounds like we need to get Scott Moulton on here. My hard drive died.
Yeah, there's a podcast show called "My Hard Drive Died" by Scott Moulton, and his job is data recovery, right? And he teaches federal agents and state and local officers for forensics and stuff. So yeah, we should get him. We should get him on. I believe Dora's tried to get him on a couple times, just in general to do another show, but with the knowledge and the information he has with data forensics and catching, training, that guy is going to be busy for a very long time.
Oh, yeah, they call him out of the country for cases.
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe we can get him on remote.
But he's good. He's good to. I mean, not that you can understand everything he says, but he tries to make it that you can understand. But he's not a believer in SSDs. Let's put it that way. No.
It's kind of, you were comparing SSDs with VHS tapes, because I was sitting there thinking back, geez, when I got into computers, it was a Tandy. I wrote it down. I think it's a TS-80, and we used a cassette tape to write the data to. So you would type something, you'd hear bzz, bzz, bzz. It would spin back and forth writing this data. And then when you wanted to read it back, it had to rewind it, basically. So it's funny you said that, because not too long ago we were using tape to store data.
With my flood, Martin, I'm throwing all this stuff away, even some DVDs, but I'm throwing a lot of VHS tapes away. Some of them are brand new and never even used.
Yeah.
I had a hard time with that.
Yeah, there are benefits. There are definitely benefits with an SSD, but with those benefits, with that speed, with just the way the SSDs are, don't just deploy an SSD to, especially in the enterprise. Don't just deploy SSDs and walk away and say, well, now you boot faster. Make sure you definitely have some backup, because if it was me, if I lose data, I lose data. I have it now. I have my stuff backed up, but if I destroy my data, that's completely different than if I accidentally destroy somebody else's data, or my job, my responsibility for my clients, what they pay me for. I need to make sure that I'm doing the best I can. If they want an SSD, then I have to say, great, we can do that, but it's more than just the SSD. We have to look at a backup system, and if you don't have a backup system, you may not want to move to SSDs, or you may want to tell you give your clients, full disclosure. Here's how an SSD will help you, but we have to have some backup, because in the case that it does fail, there are chances that you may not be able to get the data back, because there's nothing. How do you get the data back from an SSD? It looks like you can send it into someplace, but it's not like you send the hard drive in and they take the platters off and they put it in the same case that they have and they just spin it back up and you go, okay, great, the data is still there. The data it's written completely differently.
Now, and who do you suggest, Martin, to your clientele? What kind of backup solution do you usually push for them?
Well, it depends on what they need. So I've got a client that's kind of got a twofold thing, and because this was actually brought up in another podcast as well, is the difference between cloud-based storage and the difference between backup. And I brought up two things. We have OwnCloud, and which I don't know if you've ever heard of OwnCloud, but it's a open source. You run it on your own server, cloud-based. So I would compare OwnCloud to Google Docs, right? I can get into my Google Docs, I can edit it, I can modify, I can change things around like that. But then you have something like Carbonite and CrashPlan. Carbonite, CrashPlan, any of those are backup systems. They're not. My CrashPlan that I have on my laptop is not for me to go in there and modify, make changes, read, write to it. If I need it in an emergency, yes, I can download data on my phone or something like that. But it's not that Carbonite and CrashPlan is not a working directory. That's backup. That's cloud-based offsite backup. OwnCloud, Google Docs, that's your cloud-based data storage working directory. And I have a client right now who is working on getting both, because they have clients all over both Oregon and California that they need a off-site data repository where they can access data all over the place, okay, wherever their staff is, but they need backup as well. So we've got CrashPlan going, and they're backing up servers through CrashPlan. And then we're going to be moving their data to the cloud and using something like OwnCloud, Carbonite. OwnCloud, Box, Rackspace has one. There's a whole, Amazon E3. There's a lot of stuff you could do with that, but they're not the same thing. So as far as backing up goes, I like CrashPlan. I've worked with them for quite a while. They're cross-platform. I was Josh Knucklehead Tech called me the CrashPlan pimp earlier in the week because I've talked about them, and we in last December I was called in to consult on a CryptoLocker issue. One of a client, not of mine, of another agency, was infected with the CryptoLocker virus. Then I later on had both my sister / client get infected with the CryptoLocker virus. She was using Carbonite. I called up Carbonite. So I called during the time when we were looking at what we're going to do for a backup for her. She also is in the medical field, so there's some HIPAA rules and regulations that we need to follow for her. And I called Carbonite, CrashPlan. I think Box was another one that I called up. Or there was another company that I called up. But I went through and I said, hey guys, this is the issue that I'm having, and I asked them all the same questions. Carbonite had never heard of, or they were very unaware of CryptoLocker virus and what it had done. When I did get to CrashPlan and called them, and I knew their response because I had already talked to them, but I asked them, hey, what about CrashPlan? I specifically said, what about Carbon? Sorry, I apologize. I asked CrashPlan specifically regarding the CryptoLocker virus, and they said, oh yeah, we totally know what's going on with that. A lot of our staff have actually been infected. We know what to do with it. We've taken measures to do it. So I like CrashPlan as a backup solution. They're fairly inexpensive. So because I'll get to the pricing. They're fairly they just know what they're talking about. They will make sure that when the data is being transferred, it's completely encrypted. They can't see your data. So when your data gets transported from your computer up, they will check on it, and if they notice that it's infected, they won't even back it up. So they keep their servers from getting backed up. Now, they've got a family. They've got an individual plan that's free. Now, the individual plan for free is you can back it up to somewhere else. So maybe I want to take my system and I want to back it up to my brother in another state. Maybe set up a server there, ship him a box. All you have to do is plug it in. I will get to it with my remote support tools. I'll set it up. Now my data gets backed up using the Carbonite interface, or excuse me, using the CrashPlan interface from my computer to there. They have a single user one, and the 1 year, and the more years you buy, the cheaper it gets. The 1 year is $59, unlimited amount of storage, and it just backs up. You just go through and you choose what you want. They've got a family one, which is what I'm using here in my home. It's $149 a year, up to 10 computers. So there's not a limit on space. You just get up to 10 computers, unlimited amount of space, for $149 a year. I back up my Linux box. I back up a server behind me. That's Windows. I back up my wife's Windows box. I back up my son's Linux box. So, and if I had a Mac, I could throw it on there too.
Cool.
And then they have business ones, and the business ones get a little more expensive. The business ones will do things like if you have a lot of data, they will send you a hard drive. You put all your data on the hard drive, send it back to them. And vice versa if you want to do recovery. There's some other plans of the way business does. So that's CrashPlan. It's something that, like I said, I enjoy, I use, and it's one of the ones that I give to my customers because it is fairly inexpensive, unlimited amount of storage. Set it, forget it, and walk away. Now, what you would do, of course, is do all your system state and everything like that. Maybe have CrashPlan on a secondary machine. Do your system state and everything from your other machines. Put it in a folder, and then back up that folder offsite, or even back it up locally, and then back up offsite as well. So then you have your three.
Yeah. Seems like I might need you on my podcast one day to talk about all this. I think you have the backup under control, probably the best I've ever heard. I mean, right now that we're using Barracuda. I don't know if you ever heard of Barracuda Backup. Mm-hmm. It started out as a small company in Pennsylvania, probably close to Mitch. I think it was in Johnstown or somewhere in that area, but it was called BitLeap at one time. And their logo was a frog. I got with the company then, and I told my wife when I started using this at work, I said, we need to talk to this company. We need to buy this company. And she said, buy it. She said, because I get these ideas. And she said, wait, you're going to go to the bank and get a loan to buy a company that you used for 2 days. I said, yes, we need to buy this company. And she said, well, I didn't realize at the time it was for sale, because what happened with it was a month later I got a notification that said, we are now known as Barracuda Backup. Well, I would never be able to afford that, actually. Right. We know how much reach Barracuda has, and I'm just a little guy here from Pittsburgh. I don't have that kind of money, but I knew it would be big. And they actually, on their backup servers, they do actually bit level backup. So if we have a user that takes a document and changes 2 words, those 2 words get sent out at night, not the whole document. It's pretty cool.
Right. Right. Yeah. CrashPlan will do that as well. They have it. They have kind of. You can set it to always go. Uh-huh. So the first backup is huge. It's because it's just backing up all your data, and then as you're modifying stuff, it'll back up for you. And if you find that that's a little much, most people will just go in and by default, you can go in and just tell it when to back up, at night, and by default it's already set for 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. So you just turn that on, and then you work during the day. Everything works fine. At 10 p.m. It starts backing up all your changes. But the first one is pretty big, and I've deployed it on computers at sites who have DSLs, and the problem is that you say, well, the backup's going to take 4 days.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, just I mean, at least it's better than nothing, which they've been running nothing for years, and now they want to have a backup program, and then it's like, well, it's going to take 4 days. Now, you can, in the personal one, I think you can call and get them to send you a hard drive, but I think it's $120 for them to send you a terabyte hard drive.
Yeah.
So in a business, it's one thing.
The problem with me, I tried Carbonate before, but as you know, I do a lot of YouTube videos, and by default, Carbonate will not let you check. You have a folder that just like the root level folder for videos. You check it, but it will not. When I put a video in, it will not automatically check it. So if you don't, so that's kind of useless.
CrashPlan allows you to do that.
So it does allow you to. They don't care about videos then.
No, and that's the problem, and that's one of the issues that it's not an issue. I don't mean to say that because it's not bad at all. But by default, any kind of backup program, what they do is the first thing they do is they go in and they grab your user directory and they say check, and that includes every temp folder, every all the stuff that you may or you probably don't want anyways. But in CrashPlan, you get the tree folder structure, and then you just basically check boxes of what you want. You could do the root level, or you could go down, and then it just, when it's done, it just brings down the big list and shows you what's there. And so maybe offline at another time I can show you my CrashPlan backup and show you what it looks like. And
yeah, cool. And how much space do you get on the free one? You said there was a free version.
The free one is unlimited because
computer to computer.
Right, you're just moving from computer to computer.
Okay, and that's sort of like this. That's like the new thing I've been playing with called BitSync. Did you guys see that? BitTorrent Sync.
So okay, Podnuts uses BitTorrent Sync. When we finish recording the show, we throw it in a BitTorrent Sync folder, and then it all gets done, and then Door Geek grabs it from his BitTorrent Sync folder and does it. Now, here's how my CrashPlan works. I have BitTorrent Sync on my laptop. I will back up Geeksters and everything that I'm dealing with on my laptop. It BitTorrent syncs. It also BitTorrent syncs to my server, which then also sends it to the cloud. So I actually have my server with the Geeksters information, my laptop with the Geeksters information, backing up via CrashPlan to the cloud. But yes, BitTorrent Sync. We have been using BitTorrent Sync for a while and really like it.
It works well.
I was impressed because I also write novels, so I'm writing fiction novels now, and because I have so much time on my hand with nothing better to do, but I started
putting buying major companies
or domains, right?
Right.
But anyway, I put my book in there, and I was wondering if I go somewhere else and get on a different network, would the BitTorrent Sync work? And it does. So here's my question, because I don't know everything about BitTorrent Sync. Do they have a server where all this stuff is hitting, and then I'm syncing back from there, or am I syncing back from my own computer over the internet? How does it find me?
You're syncing back to your own computer. There is no central repository. BitTorrent Sync is not like Dropbox. Dropbox has a central repository, and you just have computers 1 and 2 connecting and sharing through a central repository, right?
Right.
BitTorrent Sync is not like that. It's point to point. You can make it faster by opening. So Mitch and I and Tim, we all have BitTorrent Sync. Now we can all open up ports on our routers if we wanted to, and we can make it run faster. If for some reason we cannot communicate, if I for some reason cannot communicate with Mitch for whatever reason, it will default roll over to port 80. It being already encrypted, it will then pass through the BitTorrent Sync servers just as a transportation mode on port 80. That's the only thing it does. So yes, so when you go and you take your laptop and you go across you're in Hawaii, sitting down on the beach, and you open it up and BitTorrent Sync starts to sync, you're doing a point-to-point BitTorrent Sync for the most part. There is a chance that you could be going through their servers, but just transporting through it. You're just as a means to send the data, because it needs to. For some reason, it can't connect to the port. Maybe you're in a hotel that the random port is blocked. maybe UPnP has been turned off. It'll use port 80. It may slow it down a little bit, but the real answer is there's no central server like Dropbox. It is point-to-point.
Okay. Well, that's good to know because I always worry about it. I told my wife I always worry about who's getting this book or who can read this book. And one day you see it on New York bestseller list and you're like, hey, I wrote that. It's like, no, you didn't.
Right. And yes, I love BitTorrent, and I was going to talk about that. That was one of the options of another type of a backup as well. As opposed to CrashPlan or Carbonite. That way you're kind of in that trust no one type phase.
Right.
Because yes, CrashPlan, yes, Carbonite, yes, well not OwnCloud, or yes, Box. The data is on their server. You're hoping that they're not going to be able to read it. You're hoping that they've encrypted it well. I think if they let things slide, they've got a lot riding on the line for that.
Yeah.
But
oh yeah.
You don't want to just you don't want somebody to get a hold of your book.
Right.
So.
A lot of months in that book.
Yeah. Did you say the application you were using is called BitLeap?
BitLeap was the first company. Yep.
Okay. So now it's called something else.
Galaxy or.
Well, no. Now it's actually called Barracuda Backup Services.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I've known Barracuda as what they do content filtering, didn't they, at one time?
Yep. And they are an amazing, not to advertise for anybody, but amazing spam filtering company. When we had an Exchange server, we talked about that earlier. Somebody was saying, I think Mitch was saying Exchange, and when he said that, I seen a dinosaur walk through the back of my room here. I was like, really? Because we're back in the prehistoric days when man hit things on the head with a club with Exchange. And if you're an Exchange fan out there, I'm sorry, I'm not bashing you. I'm just saying move to the cloud. That's where everybody else is. But where was I going with this? What was you talking about? The Barracuda, the spam filtering. Yeah, and the Barracuda backup services. But what they did, they hired the BitLeap guys. They bought the company we talked about there, but they kept the guys, so they kept that same philosophy, that same way of doing things, and it's amazing. They're still working there.
Well, that's good. That yeah. I mean, it happens in big companies. Microsoft bought Nokia and then turned around and laid a majority of them off, and that just happened recently. So.
Right. Yeah.
Well, and Mitch, you've been in companies where you've been acquired many times.
Yeah, I've been with the same company for 40 years, and we've been bought out, I think, 6 times, and somehow I'm still there. I don't know how, but I'm still there.
That's because you're amazing and because you got a Podnuts hat.
Yeah, I'm sure.
We touched on, and I need to give credit to Dora and Cody for bringing this last night on Linux for the rest of us. Synology, which is another backup device. I have a client who's actually using Synology, and we're going to do a point-to-point in their Synology, but Synology has been infected with it's called SynoloCker, SYNOLOCKER. So you go to your Synology device and it says SynoloCker, all important files in this NAS have been encrypted using strong cryptography. For a list of files, click here, and it says follow these steps if recovery is needed. So it's ransomware just like CryptoLocker, but now they're specifically infecting your Synology devices, which is a very well used NAS type, especially in home and mid-size businesses. And like I said, I actually have a client who has been using Synology, and he's got 2. And one he wants to keep on site, and the other one he wants to put in his house, and we're going to do a point-to-point between them. So I need to make sure that he is aware of this. It's not something that actually goes on the Synology. What it does is you will get infected, and then it has nothing to do with my Windows box or my Linux box. It doesn't care. But what it will do is it'll check out your network, because most Synology devices, I don't want to say all, you create a map drive to the device. And that's how you back up data. That's how it's a NAS, so that's how you use the data on it. It realizes it's a Synology device, so it checks your network for all Synology devices, and then basically runs its own locker within the device itself. So be aware of that. That's in the show notes. I didn't see and I didn't hear of there being a fix yet. That's probably going to have to come down from Synology itself as some kind of a firmware update. But just be aware. So this brings it back to we're now ankle deep or knee deep into backups. Is what do we use then? If we're at a point where do we need to go with and there's a lot of people who feel this way, and I'm starting to lean towards that way. Is if we really can't trust anybody, right? If we really have a lot of data that I need to keep to myself, not that I have something to hide, it's just that I want to make sure my data is protected. Well, then maybe we need to spend the extra money to get our own backup server and run something like OwnCloud or run something like BitTorrent Sync. And the only reason we're going to run it is because we have purchased a server offsite and we're just backing up the data to there. So now we're responsible for our own backup. The good news is there is no Synolocker to get our Synology devices infected. The bad news is we're responsible for our backup. So we have to, there's always going to be a way. We're going to have to weigh this out of which is going to be the best way. And I think it's going to. And I don't think it's going to be the same for everybody. It's definitely not going to be the same for every corporation.
And I believe any backup strategy. I know at the school we do this. You need to have a local backup as well as cloud. When everybody relies on the cloud, what happens is you're relying, unless you have a dual internet line, which not a lot of companies do. I mean, you should have a backup internet today. We're looking at that, putting that into school now, actually, where we're going to have two totally. And people say that, well, yeah, I have two Comcast cables coming in. Folks, they're both from Comcast. Or I have two DSL lines. Folks, they're both from Verizon. So we have one cable coming in. We have satellite internet coming in. Or microwave, I'm sorry, at 100 meg, and then through our local cable company, we're going to have a different line brought in. So if A is down, B will pick up. But that's what you have. If you just have online backup and there's a power outage, there's a typhoon hits, hurricanes hit hit Mike. Remember with the generator, we talked about him earlier. If something like that hits and your business is down for 4 or 5 days, guess what? You don't have no backup. Maybe you're working on your local computer because you have a battery hooked to it or something, and you're creating files and stuff, but there's no internet. So you have to have a local backup with the offsite back. It should hit your local backup first and then get uploaded to the cloud sometime in the evening. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's your best case scenario. You talked about earlier with SSD drives. We talked earlier about my networking classes and stuff and networking podcast. I told you plug and pray. Like you said, if you want the benefits, you might have to say an extra prayer at night when you go to bed. Please save all my data to my hard drive. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. I only have one more news story that I came across. My birthday's in March, and I'm always the problem with being Martin Obando is that I have a tendency to be fairly impatient. If I find something that I really would like, I usually get it, which then drives my wife nuts because she really, come Christmas, come my birthday, she has a hard time buying stuff for me because I already have it. And I don't know, and the more techs I talk to, I think we're all kind of that way. Like, we just go, I don't really need that keyboard, but I bought it anyways. And then your wife, your significant other, your kids are like, oh, I bought you this keyboard that looks just like the one you've had on your desk for 2 months. And you're like, yeah, it's great. So I've really wanted a quadcopter. I've been talking about it, and so I'm thinking this would be fun. I was the coastal town that my wife and I are from in California. They do this huge fireworks display. Everybody sits along the beach and we watch the fireworks go off. And I'm thinking, how fun would this be to just fly the helicopter around, this quadcopter around, and check it out? So I came across.
You've been watching Liam. You've been watching Liam. I
know Liam from Podnets. He has one. Aaron Turnbull has one as well. Well, I came across this map because I thought, you see all these great YouTube videos of people. Like the big one that I know is this huge giant swing, and the people there's a quadcopter going around and they're shooting in HD, and you see everybody swinging, and it's just these views you would never see before. And I think that would be so fun to just take it to a park and do that. Well, not to burst anybody's bubble, but I came across a website from The Verge, and it says a map of all the drone no-fly zones in America. And apparently, this is moderately new. All the no-fly zones in America have been national parks, army bases, and anything within a 5-mile radius of a major airport. So here's an interactive map, and when I zoom in on my coastal town, it's Crescent City, California. So if you're Oregon, California, very coastal town. We're 20 miles from there. It says anything from a 5-mile radius of a major airport. Unfortunately, that's all of the city. So it stinks. But this shows you. So if you take your drone camping and you're in Las Vegas, you can't be flying your drone around Las Vegas. It looks like most of San Francisco, Oakland, the Bay Area is pretty much it's pretty much a no-fly. So I'm kind of bummed because it's like, well, now I can't. Now am I supposed to fly? I'm not gonna fly I don't want to fly my quadcopter over an army base. I get that, but so no fly zones for your quadcopter.
Now you have to move 10 miles out of the city.
Right. But there's definitely some places where it's it's these big red no-fly zone areas. A lot of it's red, a lot of it's not. So it looks like Nevada, most of Nevada and the desert's wide open. So have at it.
You know who created the no-fly zones, don't you?
Uh-uh.
The Amazon haters, because they don't want Amazon dropping packages with drones.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want Amazon dropping my packages either. I don't know what. I just ordered a $2,500 server. I don't know what the size of drone that's going to be for them to drop that thing.
Yeah, it might be a Huey.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. Man, the shipping on the server was insane. Good thing for Prime.
Oh, did they give you free shipping with Prime for that?
I don't know. I actually bought it through Dell, but I'm just thinking. But you can buy something. I've seen stories where people have bought giant refrigerators or washers and dryers or huge abnormal just awkward things off Amazon, and they get free shipping with Prime.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Wow.
My drone dropped off my dryer. Well, that's what I got today. I mean, I just went. I come with
Good show.
News articles and stuff. Mitch, I didn't mean to cut you out if you had anything there.
No. I mean, it's educational. It always is when I come in here.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I've had a couple little programs, a couple little things to do, but generally the big one was the Nick Shaw's debug and deinstall. That it worked great, and I actually this client has another computer. They have two computers. They had a desktop and a laptop, and they gave me their laptop. Well, they have their desktop. They said it's all infected as well. I mean, they had every type of pop-up bar and the whole thing. I'm now looking forward to it because I have the thumb drive sitting over there. They're ready to go, and I was actually going to pick up the hard drive from them or the desktop from them the other day, and I was there outside their house and had a family emergency, had to come back. So now I'm waiting because now I really want to get it because I want to do it again. I want to, So you already mentioned it before, Jack. But if people want to get a hold of let's not end real quick. I apologize. I have an email.
I'm going to pause here just for a minute. I'll be right back.
Sure.
Go ahead with the email.
Okay. So the email says, smoke alarm. Okay, maybe not so cool, but here's what I'm doing. It's hard to put a price on safety. For less than $100, I wanted to extend a smoke alarm coverage in my house, easily doubled or tripled. Safety is easy to justify with the wife. My house has a handful of wired smoke alarms, mainly all on one side of the home, both on the main floor and basement. Need to extend smoke alarms in other areas, including the garage. It would sure be nice when any smoke detector went off. It would put alert on all the smoke detectors in the house, right? No wiring involved, that would be a plus too, and it would wake the dead. Solution: I purchased one wired/wireless. This is the bridge between the wireless and the wired alarms, and 3 wireless detectors, $145. So the first one, it says First Alert SA521C on one link, the First Alert SA501C and 1 link, and the First Alert 5C051CN-3ST. The email will be in the show notes, so if anybody wants to pick up on those. Strategically placed in my house, if any detector goes off, it will trigger both the wired and the wireless systems. My family hates it. When I tested/installed it, it was very loud. Remote notification. I haven't done this yet, but getting ready to put it on the remote system together by adding a Nest wired smoke detector that connects via Wi-Fi to Nest. This should bridge my whole system to the app on our phones and email alerts. Nest Protection Smoke plus CO2 wired, $99. First Alert seem to have the better pricing for their on-link systems. Nest seems to be the only player for Wi-Fi, and for the $100 price range, it didn't seem completely unreasonable for what you were getting. John B. So we talk about Geeksters being a show of anything geekery. I think that I made that word up. I've used it a couple times, but bring geek stuff to Geeksters. And this was a great one where he integrated a wireless smoke detector and Nest into his home. So now he kind of, I mean, for lack of better terms, he hacked his smoke detectors to make it better. And this is great. And so, John B., I'd be really interested to hear what's going on with that. You mentioned that you haven't done the remote by Nest yet. I'd be interested to hear it. How is that working out for you? And what has it done? Thank you so much. This was a very detailed email. He said it gave you the serial numbers of what each part was and about the price. So it looked like you're looking at under $300, under $400 here, if I'm reading this correctly, to expand and make his smoke detectors wireless with remote notification. Awesome, John. Good job.
Get him on the show. Get him on the show.
Are you going to make that available on your site?
Yes, the email will be available in the show notes.
Good.
All right, so now we'll get back to Jack. You mentioned it once before, but if people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way they can do that?
It's email me at jackstechcorner@gmail.com, and the voicemail line is 724-701-0550.
Very nice. And tips from the server room, is it live or is it you just record it and then release it?
I've played with it live, but we're a society today of TiVo and DVR lovers, so most people like to watch it on their time. And you guys know it. They want to listen to the podcast on their time. So I've kind of moved it to pretty much a straight podcast. When I do, if you follow me on Twitter at @Technoman, that's TECHNOMAN, if I go live on video, I will stick it there too. So, but I've never had much success with the chat room like we see with the Twit network and stuff, where they got hundreds of thousands of people chatting and answering, asking questions. We all want that, right? That's what we want. We want interaction. So, so if you're listening to Geekster, hey, get in and interact with these guys because they're great guys. They have a ton of information they can give you if you just ask the question.
Excellent. Thanks for the props. Look at that. We actually have 4. Right now we have 4 viewers watching us, so that's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool, though. That's good, though.
It is good. It is good. Bitch, if people want to get a hold of us.
Geeksters@podnuts.com, and we love those voicemails at 7076-podnut.
And we do have a voicemail. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I say keep them coming.
Yeah, we do have one voicemail in the queue from Black Hammer, Jeff Owens. We just are having some audio troubles getting that played, Jeff. So don't hate us. I apologize. And if people want to get a hold of me, they can reach me at martin@obandocomputing.com. I have moved over to Obando Computing in the chat. It used to be Maskill. It really didn't make much sense, so I decided to go ahead and change it up. So Obando Computing in the chat. If I'm in there, say hi. And apologize for Tim couldn't be here. He really tried to make it. He had some difficulties, but you guys can reach out to Geeksters to get a hold of Tim if you have any questions for him as well. Guys, we're going to see you next week. Jack, thanks again so much for coming out and hanging out with us today on a Tuesday and being flexible with the kind of the crazy schedule we had getting everything going.
Hey, again, thanks for asking me to join you guys. I really appreciated it, and ask again sometime. Had a good time.
Definitely, definitely. All right, guys, we will catch you next fiscal week. Bye-bye. All right, so we're going to keep the live show going, but I just restopped our Audacity.
All right, I stopped it.
All right, so what we usually do, I quickly save the project just so I...
Oh, man, it's crashing. Don't crash. Oh, my God. Oh, it did.
Oh.
Oh.
I'm going to reach through this thing and smack you upside the head in your comfy chair.
No, it was saying not responding. But then
it really was crashing.
Yeah, but it stopped. I can save it now. Once we save that, it's up to you if you want to save the project. But what we do is we export. Okay, so we export the audio. And usually you just go ahead and put your name, Geeksters, and then you can just put 127, which is the show. And then I can give you an FTP, or if you want to put it somewhere, I can grab it there and get it to him as well. Then we save it as an OGG of Vorbis file.
Hold on. Wait, you just lost me.
Okay, sorry. So when you go to export it, you have your name at the top.
Instead of an MP3, you want it as a
OGG.
I got you.
And then the under,
Vorbis,
right.
Vorbis.
Yeah, and then under options, there should be an export level quality.
You want it to be 10.
8.
8.
Oh, come on, we're not that bad.
That's 2 less than 10, man.
I know. Well, we don't. There was no 11. We couldn't go that high.
Hey, this OGG thing. This is a Linux thing, huh?
I think it's it's Wave. It's not as what is it?
Uncompressed.
Yeah, it's uncompressed, but it's not as uncompressed as Wave is. So you get better quality than MP3, but without the size of a Wave file.
I gotcha.
So
you want me to save it now?
Yeah, and then don't worry about the meta tag data. And like I said, I can send you we can do it a couple ways. I can send you FTP information. You can just FTP it up to my servers if you want.
Yeah, if you just want to send it through that email, you have my email.
I think. Did I write it down? No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to rewind the show.
Hey, you can say it on a live show, and you can have a lot of interesting stuff on your FTP site.
That's true. I could.
Let me tweet that out. Hold on. Let me just.
Yeah. I'm actually in the process of moving servers. I do web hosting as well, but web hosting started out as something that I thought would be really fun and really easy, and I'm finding that it's fun and it is easy, but it has a tendency to be time demanding. And so but the problem is now my one server's full. So I keep getting notices that I'm at 84, 86% capacity. So I just.
Oh, wait a minute. Your web's serving from your house.
No.
Oh, okay. No. Hosted services.
Oh, yeah. Right. So I have a server that I own, and then I have a couple servers that I own, and then I resell out. So then they just get full-on servers. But mine is full, and I didn't even realize it. I thought, I got maybe 35 web pages on there. I have 52 web pages that I host.
Wow. Oh, you mean websites?
Websites, yeah. Actually, it's 58 websites, but I have 52 separate clients on there. And
you see that, Mitch? This is not the richest guy I know. I personally have talked to.
And so I pulled the trigger today to upgrade it to a newer server, but the problem is that because originally I just threw more RAM on it and I just threw more hard drive space at it, but now there's a way that I can get better for somewhat more inexpensive. It's going to cost more, but overall it's less inexpensive. But it goes from a virtual machine to a dedicated machine, and I can't keep the same IP address. So
wow, yeah. Who's it with? Rackspace?
No, it's through a company called KnownHost.
Okay, well, see, they're unknown to me. I mean, I don't know.
You should know them. They're known.
I don't know.
So I'm going to be moving this stuff over, and so I had to go through all my. And the reason I know how many clients I have is because I had to write them all out so I know who. Because a lot of clients just say, you handle it all. So I buy the domain name, I manage it, I do everything with the domain name, and that means that I can go in there and just make the changes as needed.
Right.
But then there's some clients who already have their own, network solutions registrar or GoDaddy registrar.
Yeah.
So then I need to go in as them. So I need to figure out who I can get in and who I need to work with to make the changes. Most of the time, if I have the information, they've already let me in at one point to make a change for some reason. They'll usually say, go ahead and do it, but I do when I ask permission first before for that. So that's going to be my to-do thing. I did a big web page. I did a big email migration. Oh, if you had been listening, I don't know if you listened to the last couple ones with the company the nonprofit that bought the HP computers with the Dell information on them, that we got the Office. I worked until 3 a.m. and then I was back up at 5 a.m. So I'm working on 2 hours of sleep. But they're done. They're done. We got the email hosted Exchange set up for them. We got Office installed, set up for them. I have a couple little follow-up things tonight to finish with, but oh man, they're done. It's one of those.
If you don't mind me asking, do you run your business the same way Mike was talking about having contracts? You have you contract out 40 hours to a client, or?
Yes and no. If I can have a contract, I do have clients that do have contracts, like the school, for instance. I have a 10-hour per month contract with them. So then, and then there's different fees depending on all of that. But yes, I have clients who buy who contract with me for a certain amount of hours per month, which I really like. They can
Right.
budget, I can budget. We have that. Then I have
Right.
other clients who I've offered the contract with, and they're like, "Nah, we don't really want to." That's fine. I have an hour minimum, so
Yeah, that's right.
they, we need you to change his email address. Okay, done.
Yeah, 1 hour. Yep.
Yeah. So it depends on So I do both. I have time contracted, and then I have on call type stuff as well.
I gotcha. Yeah, because I have a couple clients outside of my normal job. I mean, because I think we're glutton for punishment. Anybody does this business, and that's the thing. When they call and they want you to drop everything, I mean, do you have a rate for an emergency rate as opposed to I know I'm going out Friday at 3?
Right. There are some business decisions that I need to make better, and that is one of the ones that I don't have. I'm learning. I've only been doing this on my own now for 2.5 years or almost 3 years. I've learned a whole lot more. I've learned a whole lot in that time, but I know there's definitely more that I have done. I'm not a businessman by trade. I've learned a lot. So I applaud the people who go into their business saying these are my set terms and I'm not going to waver from these terms. And they give themselves things like, 6 o'clock rolls around in the evening, I'm done. If you need me after that, I have emergency funds, emergency costs. Or
Right.
But see, I didn't. I think we all go in at the very beginning going, I will take whatever you can give me because I just want to get my base clientele. Well, then the problem is now you've already set that level of expectations. So there are some clients out there that he will show up to work at 5:30 in the morning, and my phone will ring at 5:30 in the morning saying internet's not working. I'm like, I know you're 2 miles from me, and I know I could probably run there. I'm a big guy. I'm carrying on some extra weight, but I could probably run there. But the problem is that's already been set. Now that's not very often, and I understand if it's an emergency. But the problem I run into is that there's it's something I'm working on learning how to spend more time with my family than being in this chair.
And that's why when we first start out, we have this sign right here. Did you see this sign? You see what that's right? Because we got to feed our family, right? So, we'll work for a Burger King burger if you happen to give that to us. But you're right. I mean, these people call, oh, my God, Jack, we didn't get our email for 3 minutes, and I don't know what's going on. And I always wonder, talking to folks like you, is how do you say, look, fine. I mean, I'll come out there right now. It's $150. I work with a young guy, too, and I told him, he says, what's your rate? My rate to clean a computer is $75 because I told you guys I don't like doing it. So if you're going to pay me $75, that's fine. But the kid at work goes, oh, you're much more seasoned at this than I am, Jack, so I'm going to charge them $50. I said, but if they go to Best Buy, the Geek Squad charges $199 to look at it, just to look at it and tell you that it's infected. So how do you work all that? You know what I mean?
I don't have set costs.
Okay.
So it's everything is per hour. Is really now I say that kind of like when in a position where you have a salary, like you're going to get paid X amount of dollars per month, but it's based on an hourly rate. So I can go to a client and I can say that's going to cost X many dollars to fix that. I'm projecting that. Now I generally project that. I generally estimate that because I know now how long something like that should take, and the reason I give myself the estimate is because this computer could be completely infected, and I'll say 2 hours.
Right.
Come to find out, it's so infected that now, because you think 2 hours, you're going to hold it overnight because you got all the scans and stuff that you got to run with it, and usually those are you're just sleeping, and but it could be something else.
Right.
So I always try to. I've learned to. I've set the hard rate once before, and I thought, ooh, this will be nice because I'm going to make X amount of dollars to do this one project. And unfortunately, it was a network installation, and that network installation was drawn out so far. But by the time I was done, I was like, I can't even believe what my hourly rate is now because I didn't do that because I set a hard rate yeah.
Yeah, and I think too. I think I did a show a while back on Tips from the Server Room that talks about charging clients, and we The one thing I didn't mention there is that I'm thinking now is you got to think where you live. Your cost of living may be higher than what it is here in Pittsburgh, as opposed to what it might be in Hollywood, California. So our hourly rate, even though we're doing the same thing, might be worth a lot more money where you live than where I live.
Yeah.
You know, because I charge 75 for the first hour and 50 for every hour after that. If it's the same issue, if I don't fix the server or something, have to come back tomorrow or something, then I just pick it back up at the 50. I don't go back to the 75. Because what I found when you walk in, you sit down, you start talking to them. Next thing you know, they have a list of 10 things. If you said I'm going to come here for $75, you're not there the hour. You might be there 3.
Right.
So that's why I started. I don't have contracts, so I was wondering how you do it. I think it's great to have contracts. I wish I could get some.
Yeah. What I've done with my contracts is I've said this many hours, and then I have I work in smaller increments. So which gives them the chance, and you know, and these contracts are with the school, which usually I'm there set. So that one's not a great one. They bought a bigger chunk of hours, so I gave them a reduced hour rate. Now, when they go over those 10 hours, the price increase. But a lot of these other companies, so I have a couple that are they're property management companies, and so I've got the main corporate office, which is on one contract, and then I have all the external sites on the other contract. And by allowing them to have smaller increment rates rather than just an hour at a time, it allows the property managers to say, hey, we have a network issue at this site, or my email's not working. They can call me. I can get it quickly fixed. We can do the stuff either I'm on site or remotely. And it allows them to have essentially you can get more. Now, when it's all said and done, I still charge for that major bulk. Now, of course, if they go over that, now we're at per hour rate, and sometimes it gets a little spendy. I'm not such a hard-nosed person where I've then gone back to them and said, hey, you know, in the last year, you can see that, you know, maybe we had a 4-hour contract, say, per month, and we can say, oh, look, you worked 6. There was 6 hours here. There was 8 here. There was 9 there. There was 10 here. Oh, like this one was 22, but remember you flew me out of state to do a big project. Okay, so you know, what do you guys want to adjust your contract? You know, and then you know, I'm not going to lose money by having them adjust their contract. I get to budget more because they're going to pay me more.
Right.
But it means that I'm going to them and I'm saying, I'm not such a hard-nosed businessman that I'm just going to say, this is what it is. I want to keep the lowest contract possible because I know that every time they go over, that's just more money in my pocket. Well, you know, everybody wants a deal. Everybody wants to do that. And my working relationship, you know, my business depends on my clients. And if I have a great working relationship with my clients, then I'm going to get more business. And lately, I've been getting more and more business because I have a great working relationship with my clients. Could I do a lot of stuff remotely? I do. If I don't have to drive, you know, an hour and a half, I don't drive an hour and a half. That doesn't mean I don't sometimes go that hour and a half just for FaceTime. You know, I'm getting into managed services and I'm doing a lot of that. But I'm such a people person. You know, we before the show we talked about that boss versus, you know, the business person versus the you know, the tech. I'm a tech. I like to get out there and I like to talk to people. So it's hard for me to sit behind the desk all day long and just do everything, you know, do everything remotely. There are days when I relish that because it means I can be in shorts and a t-shirt and I can sleep, maybe get a nap in during the day. But there are days where when I'm not out there talking to my clients and I'm not out there figuring out what's going on, then I feel kind of disconnected sometimes from them. And I want to know, I hope everything's going okay. You know, because then they know that I'm thinking about them. You know, I'm not charging them, of course, to just call them up on the phone and say, hey, just everything going okay? How did that last project go? You know, but FaceTime for me is important, and I like to do that with my clients.
Yeah, that's huge. So we do that too, just with our staff. I mean, even if there's nothing wrong, I tell staff, you know, teachers and stuff that we work with, call me, say, hey, come over and have a cup of coffee. Why do everybody want to call us, the tech people, and raise that red flag? I hope, you know, because they see that's all we do. But you brought something really funny was we get a lot of interns in, and I have about 6 interns that I have per year from a local college. And some of those guys, you want to put them in a data center, and you don't want them to ever be seen in the day of light because they're not social people. These are people that are so disconnected with the socializing aspect of life because so many young kids today hide behind Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. They never come out from the dark. They don't
Okay.
know how to talk to people. We're older. I mean, older as being, I don't know how old you are, but I'm 50 now. See by the gray beard here.
Lucky you.
Everybody tells me that. Yeah, but you're close to retirement. So, see, I see some benefits there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, we came from
I'm
the
12.
socialized part of life. You're 12. That's just that good shave you got going on there. So that's what that is. But
Oh, if we had the beard competition, my gray beard would have beat yours. Go back a couple times from Geeksters. Go back a couple weeks, and you're gonna see
I've
this.
seen that today. I was looking.
You're gonna
You
see
said
this.
there were, you had your beard touching your mic. You said it
Oh
was
my gosh,
scary.
I did.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to cut out, guys. Jack, it was nice
Yeah, I'm
meeting
gonna be
you.
getting
Thank
out.
you
You
so much
too.
for coming on.
Very nice, Mitch. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I got to cut out too, guys, because I really should be recording a tips from the server room.
Okay. Good night.
So-
Good night, Martin.
I got to
Good night,
record
Mitch.
that. Good night. Good night, Mitch. All right, Martin. But it was so nice for you to again email me and ask me to be on.
Of course.
Hey, email me the FTP information so I can throw up your VOG file. Is that right? That's it, VOG.
Og.
Okay.
It's
Whatever.
like egg with an O.
I got you.
Yeah,
But yeah, I'll
I'll-
send that up, right?
I'll set up for you right now. It'll be a Adobando Computing FTP.
I truly appreciate it. And like I said, one day maybe we get together and talk about backup and record a tips from the server room. It'd be great to have you on, and we can
Sure.
cross the two shows together and get you on that show. So
Yeah. Tuesday, like I said, Tuesday. We do Geeksters on Tuesdays, and so if we want to do it and then just go right after that, I'm already sitting in the chair. Got the microphone out already. So
yeah, maybe we'll record it that way and I'll bring you over. I usually record mine across on Skype, but I could do this situation too.
I've got Skype.
Okay, that's fine.
So
All right. Well, hey, thank you very much, and hey, good luck on your business practice out there.
thanks, Jack. You too. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Take care, Martin. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.